When some of your criticists say, well, Professor Mazzucato is just an ideologist calling for a big active state, because running the economy is not the same. It's not like getting a man on the moon and back. What do you say about that?
So first of all, I understand why people say that, because there's a lot of disillusion with the kind of governments we have. And so I think my work is often misunderstood as defending the government. I'm doing the opposite. I'm saying we don't have the governments we need, but we also don't have the private sector companies we need often, and we don't have the right relationships. So, it's not me saying that government should be doing things. I keep coming back to the SDGs because I'm very serious about them. We have signed up to them. That means we need to tilt the playing field towards the kinds of companies that are willing to go in that direction, to invest, to innovate in that direction. Yeah. And so it's not that government should direct everything. That kills innovation. If you micromanage the system, it kills innovation. That's really my biggest argument, that in order to drive innovation-led growth, in order to have entrepreneurial systems, we need much more ambitious government that thinks about the goals we have, but then structures the tools on the ground to crowd in as much private sector investment as possible. And we're not doing that right now.
Yeah. All those entrepreneurs, especially the young ones, who really share that purpose of sustainability and who really want to work together with governments, well, it is so complicated. It is so slow to work together with governments. How can we improve the performance of our governments then?
I'm from Italy, so I'm the first to know that government can be big, bureaucratic, full of red tape, slow, and more of an impediment than a solution, hence the reason to rethink government. But what was also so interesting in Italy is that it actually took a crisis like COVID-19 to get Italy to innovate around its procurement policy, because they had to produce PPE, personal protection equipment, which up until COVID was all being produced in China. So they had to do what the US has often done during war, with the Defense Production Procurement Act, which after the Korean War was devised in order to quickly transform manufacturing into a wartime industry. And we shouldn't do this, though, just with a crisis, just with a war, just with a pandemic. That should be the way that we structure procurement always, in order to actually procure in innovative solutions from small, medium enterprises, in order to solve big goals like the digital divide question that I talked about before, like the plastic-free ocean question, like the carbon neutral cities. What does it mean to redesign procurement? So it really is solution-driven, almost like a prize scheme, right? And bringing in as many different types of companies as possible to fulfill those goals, but with a strong direction from government. So you're not just commercializing a sector because it's good in and of itself to bring in business. You're bringing in business because you need help and you need to collaborate together, fostering collective intelligence.
We see that changes in the air, but will it be fast enough? Are you optimistic or pessimistic about that really emergency fight against climate change?
I'm optimistic in the potential. I mean, for exactly the reasons you say, that we have, it's no longer accepted that businesses are just doing nothing, and you get that kind of activism also in terms of the investment boards. And if we start to normalize what that actually means, make it mandatory, global, easily understood and transparent, then we're really going to see change. But until we have that, we're going to have some interesting examples here and there, but it's not actually going to create system change. And what climate change requires is massive transformative change of every part of the economy. It's not just about renewable energy, getting Exxon to stop doing fossils. It's about changing how we create cement, how we create steel, how we nourish our children, what we do literally from the moment we wake up to when we go to bed. But also, I think we need to remember we are living through one of the most polarized political moments, in the UK with Brexit, in the US with Trump, in Europe with so many people no longer believing in the European project. So we need as much social innovation in terms of how we bring democratic participation to these processes as we need technological and organizational.
Very last question, since you're boiling in London and sun is shining over Brussels, but terraces are reopening and people are so happy to meet again. And in Europe, we expect a quarter of 15% growth. Are we at the beginning of the roaring 20s, or is it too optimistic?
Well, you know, we should be careful because sometimes out of exuberance, we're just going to think growth for growth's sake because everything's been in lockdown. We want the restaurants to earn money and so on. So as long as that growth is directed to be more inclusive, more sustainable, and to use these different moonshots to guide it, then I'm, you know, happy. If it's just going to be growth for growth's sake and exuberant roaring 20s, well, guess what happened at the end of the 1920s, the Great Depression. And if we continue to grow as we're currently growing in a completely unsustainable way, we're going to have crash after crash. So, you know, but let's be optimistic. The whole moonshot story is an optimistic message, but definitely we need to have the, you know, directed growth towards inclusion, sustainability, using the SDGs as a guiding light, but really getting, you know, different types of actors together to turn them into moonshots. And then we can roar together.
Thank you for that warning, but also for that last optimistic message. Thank you so much, and arrivederci. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Grazie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.